Puerto Rican kid, bald head, loves snakes, loves Blizzy, Sergio Chacon.
Yeah. What up, Pa?
Peace. Welcome to the DBS Podcast. It's your boy Sergio Chacon, a.k.a. Blizzy Chacon. That shit whack. I mean, it's always gonna be Dirtbag Shit Podcast. The DBS Podcast. Peace and welcome to the DBS Podcast, a.k.a. the Chacon Show. It's feeling good. It's feeling good on this beautiful day in New York City. And I'm joined by my good guest. He was actually on the first DBS Podcast episode ever. Please welcome Chris Huot. What's good, man?
Hey.
We done stuffed up, man.
Oh my God, look at this.
You're walking on mahogany, man.
Congratulations.
Look at this leather.
What is this? This is leather.
This leather.
Is that mahogany?
Although I do prefer pleather.
I like the brick though.
Oh, you like the exposed brick wall I had in the crib?
I did.
I got something to admit to you. That wasn't real brick.
That's fine.
It was veneer brick. I'm fronting. But it was real brick, but it was over the original brick. We're talking about New York City apartments. Y'all don't know about that. Y'all installations. That's dirtbag, calling people who just moved into New York installations. Yo, we're real New York. You got to understand, me and Chris are like bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches. Construction Timbs, Yankee Fitteds. We're NYC like that. F-Train. You know? We're New
I like
York.
the 456. I'm not a big fan of the F. F goes to Queens. I ain't got no business in Queens. Never had no business in Queens.
Yeah.
Except Rikers Island.
Rikers Island.
That's it.
What train goes to Rikers Island?
No train.
No train. It's a
train.
boat.
That's the end. It's a boat. No, there's a bridge, man.
Yeah.
There's a bridge. Little bridge on a bus.
The news has done a great job with keeping me scared to death of Rikers Island.
Yeah, that's a hot spot.
That's a hot spot, dogs.
It's always been a hot spot, but now it's a different kind of hot
It's a
spot.
different sort of hot spot. And when COVID hit hard, they let a lot of those motherfuckers out. Dudes are moving around the city, fresh out of Rikers, like, yeah. And it was real in the streets when COVID first hit. A lot of criminals were moving around in abundance in the streets. And that's the right thing to do, right? You can't keep them in there dying, but it was unruly for a minute. It was just, everyone was out. The trains were full of dope fiends, and it was a lot going on. When COVID first hit, it was tough.
Let me tell you, I got a bike. I bought a bike last April because the trains. I was still working in the beginning and traveling on the train every day, and the train was crushing my soul, man.
What you saw on the train,
what
right?
I saw on the trains, and not only, what I saw on the trains. I was in the train one day. There was a guy passed out on the floor in the train with his pants down. There was a man and a woman yelling at each other on this side, and I was in the center of the car with my back to the doors, right? And right across from me on the other doors was the cop that rides with the dude who collects the whatever the dude that collects the stuff from the Metro card machine, right?
Okay.
I don't know, he takes money, whatever he takes out of there, right?
He
There's always an
yeah.
armed cop with him, right? And the cop he was looking at me, shaking his head with his hand on his gun, like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I would come out of the train, man, from and you say the F train too, because I would go from the F uptown on 59th Street over there, 63rd Street, whatever it is, down, and I would get off on Delancey every morning. And by the time I got off the train on Delancey Street, I would have whatever I came out with in my pocket, cash that day, I would have given it away to these poor souls on the train, and I would just be, my soul would be crushed.
Yeah,
man.
It was a lot. It was a lot to take in because we're dealing with this unknown disease, and then there's so many different layers to this shit, right? We got the actual disease, we got job loss, we got people being misplaced, and it was just a lot. But one thing that was very abundant was the people out on the streets, homeless people, and those are the forgotten ones. Drug addicts, those are the forgotten ones because there's already not enough facilities and care for that.
You're lining me up right now.
Right?
You're lining me up.
I just
feel
think
like
that
you're lining me up. And that's why I would feel the way that I feel. Because that's me, right?
Right.
That's me.
Right.
That's my story.
So when you see that, you have so many years under your belt recovered. What does that do? Does the emotions that come out? I know it makes me sad and mad, but then there's also this arrogant side of me that doesn't want to deal with it a little bit too. So I got to be very honest with myself, especially when it's close to home. When I see like a guy really fucked up and he's maybe by the restaurant shed, shooting up through his pinky toe. I'm like, not in front of my building.
Yeah, you know what? So I mean, personally, I can gauge my own spirituality in the day on how I respond, right? A lot of times my first response is, come on, man.
Right.
Fuck out of here.
Right.
And I need to check myself immediately because I know me. I'm one bad decision away from being that guy, right? And I'm a much better person. You can't do it all the time, you know what I mean?
Right.
But my hand is always out, But when it is in such an abundance everywhere you go, like I don't know if you've been on the West Side lately, like 96th Street West Side is like zombie land. Mm-hmm. It's like, it seems to be calming down now. It seems to be like, I mean, maybe it was because the streets were so empty. For me, I was still out every day.
It seems like it
There's
pops out
no
a little
real
more.
population.
Right.
It's like Escape from New York, man. It's like, it was heavy. It was really heavy. It weighed on my spirit. But like that, there's things that, for me, there's ways to balance that. You know what I mean? You can help who you can help. Like there's one guy in my hood, like I chase him down.
So one guy that's going through it, he's out there, and you give him a hand, like giving him money, coffee.
Dude,
you gotta pick one. I can't have too many of those guys.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
You won't have
Listen,
that nice
I learned that lesson.
Isn't that crazy how we can become addicted to overgiving and overcompensating?
Sure. And there's also a part where like I caught myself one time, like everybody I saw, especially people that I knew, people I used to run with. Here, take this. Here, take this.
Yeah.
Here, take that. And what it turns out is like I'm living through them. Right. Like there's a piece of me, right? There's a piece of me that it was so comfortable in that chaos, in that insanity, in that destruction.
Right.
Right? There's a piece of my brain that like still craves that, longs for that. This regular shit, like even, it's like it was a miracle. It was a miracle for me to get clean and sober, right? It was an act of God. Right? Like that shit is not lost on me, man. And yet there's still a piece that would so easily throw that away to go back for that excitement.
Yeah. That is a strange thing. And I think it's super important that we remain aware and give the respect to whatever you want to call it, the addiction, the disease, whatever, the devil. I give that respect because it's one bad decision away, right? So I always keep it close. I always tap into it. I even have a platform where we could talk about it because that empowers us and it could change lives. And it's also somewhat enjoyable to me. It's like a therapeutic, and I got to remind myself that, check yourself. The moment you think that you got it figured out, you can get checkmate real fast. And I see it time and time again.
Another huge lesson. What do I know? What do I know? You know what I mean? Like I really don't know. And what do I know? I don't know anything. I know a lot of the things that I know, that I've learned, right, are like, as a kid, was all misinformation. Stuff that was passed on to me by misinformed people who got it the same way I got it, And then I lived this certain way, ripping and running, burning down everything around me for almost 30 years.
Moving around the streets like Godzilla.
Dude, no regard,
Right.
I mean, that was how it was. I mean, insanity. 80s, 90s, insanity. 2000, I dragged it as long as I could drag it. Like how I mean.
And the 80s were wild. It was a different sort of wild because crack was in abundance and gangsters would listen to freestyle music. How crazy is that? Right? Puerto Rican gangsters, motherfuckers had IROCs.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
TKA.
TKA. Huh? How you gonna be a gangster?
Maria.
Maria.
I got no business singing anything right now.
Me neither. But those are feel good songs.
I want to tell you something. Last time we did this, First of all, I want to tell you, I miss the reptiles. I miss curry.
Oh, I got a reptile. I got a bag full of illegal reptiles.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you now?
We're taking
I thought you were
pictures
gonna
after
tell
this.
me about some other reptile shit. Listen,
I know that element of being in the crib, my apartment with the animals had a certain charm attached to it. I've gone corporate.
yeah,
I got a Jewish
this is a great
boss
step up
now.
for you, man. This is you, and you know what? You deserve this.
It's
You
dope.
deserve this. You deserve everything that comes behind this.
I appreciate that,
you
man.
do. You
so
do.
it was only right that I swing back, and I wanted to have you back on because I do find you truly, you embody like inspiration, and I think your story is amazing. When I first met you, you know you were out of prison a short time. I'm not sure the exact number, and we connected, and I just found your story to be intriguing. And you really do embody the truth of what can happen with will and just having enough
Grace.
of the bullshit, the grace, right?
I was in a different time each time, right? I was at a different time. Dude, I know we're friends. I know we got a connection. I know we got a bond. I know if you call me in the middle of the night and you say, yo, I need help. My snake got away. I'm going to go downtown and I'm going to help you catch it.
He's
Like,
venomous, man. I'm going to get in a lot of trouble.
Whatever we
I don't
gotta
have any
do.
venomous snakes. Don't report me to the ASPCA or PETA, whatever you guys are into. Okay, continue on. Carry on. I've been talking like that, like a guy from Lord of the Rings.
You've
Carry
always been talking like that.
Like, carry on. The other day, I told someone, yeah, I'll get back to you before the week's end. Who says that? I'm like a hobbit.
I don't know if you're a hobbit. You're evolving. Maybe you're a hobbit.
But
Maybe
I
you're
cut you
Gandalf.
off. I got to
don't know.
get better at
No,
that.
it's
What were
fine
you saying?
because
What were you
now I
saying?
can't remember my thoughts.
Fuck, man.
No, listen. When I met you
Right.
in the gym in my mom's building, right? You started training my kid, right?
Yeah.
But
Which, by the way, we got to paint the picture. He had on a white beater with the yellow armpit stains and a cigarette burn hole right up in the belly. I was very impressed by his crispy white tee. He still had the tape on it.
I think I was smoking cigarettes too. Nasty shit.
Yo, lifting heavy, smoking Newports by a
Definitely
plant.
lifting heavy, smoking Newports between sets in the building, inside the
Ooh.
gym.
Outside the window there.
Listen, and I just like opened up and poured my heart out to you.
Yeah.
You know, like where I
You're
was
hot.
at.
That's very Bostonian.
Listen, man.
Are you from Boston, dog? I just promoted you as a New York
Yo,
City guy. He said hot.
I did say that
You
shit.
said
Why,
hot.
right?
Sound like
Tomorrow's
Mark
St. Patty's
Wahlberg.
Day, though, so you never
Right,
know, right?
right.
It's flowing, right?
So real quick, and we're going to touch on that.
My ADD is lit right
me
now.
too.
I have like
Me too.
19 different conversations
I
going
know,
in
that's
my
the way
head.
I am. Yeah, you say hot,
starting
and then
to
you
sweat.
said Irish. Have some water.
I don't want that water.
Are you Irish Puerto Rican? Jewish
Nah,
Puerto Rican?
You just think I'm Irish Puerto Rican. You just call me Jewish Puerto Rican?
Yeah, what
I'm
the hell
none
are
of those
you?
things. I'm Irish. I'm Irish German. I'm
Oh.
Yorkville.
Yeah, because you got a little bit of Puerto Rican swag. You got one of those like light skin.
Prison to do that to you, boy.
You would allow.
Shooting dope in Spanish Harlem to do that to you.
That's right, because you grew up in you go. Okay, so that's the influence. Because I'm like, this guy might
No.
have a little Boricua in him. So we met at the gym, tank top. Yo, you had more tattoos before. I'm not gonna talk about the tattoo that you have removed from your face. Who you went to, Dr. Sismore?
No. I went to Carol at Smooth Tattoo Removal.
Did you?
Yeah. I don't think she's there anymore. But so I'm not plugging that. But you know, if you get a teardrop tattooed on your face and you decide,
sponsor us, the DBS Podcast.
and you decide to like, you know, change your life, you might want to get that removed. And then go get some on your hands.
It's crazy how a teardrop tattoo is jarring to people because you immediately like equate that with some wild ass shit. Every time I see a teardrop tattoo, I avoid eye contact. But with you, it was different because you cornered me and you talked my ear off. No,
I did though.
were like-
I was like, really, I just needed somebody to talk to. You know what
you
I
looked
mean?
at me like this and you had your fingers pressed together and said, we're going to do this. And your chaps are mad big. You're like, what's your name? I was like, Sergio. And you're like, Sebastian. What we're going to do is, first of all, when you lift, you're going to lift with your legs, not your back. This is tip 101. All right? I'm going to need you to train my son. I ain't got no money. So you're going to do
That sounds about right.
Yeah. You're going to do that on the humble.
Yo, listen, man. You know something? You are an amazing fucking person, man.
Why?
Because you did it.
There was.
Let me tell you something. I don't know who's listening, who's watching, who's going to see this. This guy is the man. He's telling a true story. All the stories are true, by the way.
No,
But
they're
this shit that
fabricated.
he's
He wasn't that. He wasn't intimidated like that at all. We were talking.
Yeah, what he's telling you right now is real fucking talk. Yo, he's training people in a luxury building that my kid and my mom just happened to live in so gratefully. On the way they got in there was a miracle in itself. But that's another story, right? And he's training like people with some bank, right? And here I am coming out of the joint. We ain't got no money, right? And my kid don't want to do his homework. My kid don't want to listen. He's 13 years old. He doesn't want to do a push-up. And I'm like, yo, man, can I give you my kid? Will you take my kid? I can give you $25 a session.
He actually paid me 30, and I was very happy with that 30.
He said yes.
Yeah, it was my absolute pleasure.
And that steered my son in a different direction. Not to say he still didn't have his little experience with troubles and whatnot, but my son took to boxing like, forget about it. You know? And then and then you moved on, and he got a shot training at a Gleason's.
I know.
And Give a Kid a Dream Foundation. I'm like, and unfortunately, the COVID interrupted that.
Right.
But the COVID interrupted everything in the world. But what I was thinking was that I was one way when I met you, right? And then when we reconnected randomly, right? Bumped into you going into, what was that, the comedy club or whatever?
Yeah, it was somewhere uptown by the comic strip or
something. Comic strip. And then we ended up, you invited me to do the DBS podcast for the first run, right? And when I showed up at your crib and knocked on that window like I was waiting to get a bag of something that I wasn't really waiting for, and you buzzed me in, I didn't think that I was worthy to be on anybody's podcast. I was like, what am I doing here? Like, what do I have to offer? Like, and the difference would be today, we connected again about a week ago, right? And I was actually in a moment of need. I was going through something that day, and you and I were on the phone for 40 minutes, man. I can't recall anybody I've ever been on the phone for 40 minutes.
And it wasn't an easy phone call.
It wasn't phone sex.
Yo, remember phone sex? Yeah, I used to like phone sex.
How many years did I do in a joint? I remember phone sex. Phone sex. I had more phone sex than any kind of sex.
I once met a girl online, and we had AOL phone sex. Like, I met her in AOL chat room, and she was like from Tennessee. She was like, yeah, I got a rack you can see around the corner.
What is AOL?
America Online. Remember the chat rooms? You don't remember? It was like the first...
I just got my first laptop in coronavirus.
It was like the first chat rooms back in the late 90s, early 2000s. But I called her like at 5 o'clock in the morning after a night of drinking, and she's like, yeah, you want to talk dirty? And I could tell she was smoking by her porch in Tennessee. She's like, you can see my rack around the corner. And I was like, dirtbag.
Yeah, you're a dirtbag.
But we had a nice conversation. We spoke for like 40 minutes. Yo, 40 minutes on the phone these days is a long time because no one picks up the phone. But we old heads.
I don't even like to pick up the phone. I tell you, the phone is a struggle for me. Sometimes the phone rings. Talk about dirtbag. Sometimes the phone rings and I look at it and I'm like, fuck. And I just turn it over. Like it's not ringing.
Yo, you ever get nervous when the phone rings?
Oh, you never knew who was on the phone.
Right?
Man.
If you do something naughty, you're like, oh shit, they're on to me.
Funny we're talking about the phone. I'm an open book. So you do the comedy and I'll just like talk about whatever I talk about.
You're not gonna tell me what I'm gonna do.
Funny. Let me tell you something. My phone.
Yo, this pillow matches your outfit.
What you got?
Take this pillow with you. It matches your outfit.
I don't even know how to respond to that. Right?
Don't respond. Let this sit on that.
I was sit on that. Listen.
Oh, this is a good stretch.
I don't really know how. You came at me just now with the fucking pillow and with the sit on that. Right? Listen. Yesterday my phone rang, and I looked at it, and it was my dad.
Okay.
Right, and I think I'm just getting something off my chest right now. I had spoken to my dad like twice in the last 20 years, right?
Wow.
Yeah. Dad and I have experiences. Like, Dad used to stick pistols in my face and beat me with dog chains and, healthy parenting. You know what I mean?
Damn. And I'm over here bitching about my father because he used to take me to cockfights and call me the F word. But that's really...
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I found him because I hadn't seen him. The last time I saw my dad, he handed me a fistful. My dad was a tough guy. Handed me a fistful of money. He was like, here, smoke it, shoot it, stick it up your ass. You're dead to me. Don't ever come back here again. And I didn't see my dad, right? A couple of years ago, I found my dad. And because my dad bounced on my mom in 87. And he never looked back.
Right.
My mom never looked forward. My mom never went with another man since my dad left, right? And I guess I kind of hold some of her resentment towards him, right? And all this violence and all this stuff, right, between he and I, and you know, in the process of freeing myself, I've been able to forgive him. You know, he's a sick guy, and I was a sick guy, and you know, like I'm gonna be 50 in like 2 months. And
These guys look good.
And then, thank you.
50.
Thank you. Well, heroin and prison are great preservatives.
I've seen the exact opposite, but whatever.
I want my dad. You know what I mean? I miss my dad. I would love to have a relationship with my dad. So I went and I found my dad, and you know, I attempted to make amends to him, and he wasn't having it. He didn't want anything to do with it. He was like, "This is not for me. This is for you. You know, I don't want anything to do with this."
How long ago was this?
This was about 3 years ago, right? And anyway, so, you know, my sister passed about 18 months ago, and then my mom passed just now the week before Christmas. And I reached out to my dad and to talk to him about that. And my mother, they never divorced, so I felt like it was important for him to know that his wife had died, right? So he told me he couldn't breathe, he couldn't talk, blah, blah, blah. He was going to call me back. He promised he was going to call me back. I was like, all right, call me back, Dad. Never called me back. Then he butt dialed me yesterday. He had no idea who it was. And I was like, I was hanging on that promise that he was going to call me back, right? And I'm listening to him a little bit yesterday, and he's like, why did you call me? I'm like, I didn't call you. You called me. You just called me. No, you called me. Like, I don't know what's going on with the dude. I don't know if he's got dementia. Like, I don't know. But unfortunately, in a very dirtbag way, I fucking lost it, man. I'm trying to move. I'm trying to be kind. I'm trying to be loving and understanding and compassionate. And he said, I was like, you cocksucker. My sister died. My mother died. You can't even call me. Fuck you. He's like, no, fuck you. I'm like, no, fuck you. And I hung up. And he called me back. Fuck you in. He called me back. He called me back. Serge, I didn't answer it. Because if I would have answered it, he would have said, fuck you, and hung up on me immediately, right? And I tell you, man, it felt good. It felt good. You know, I got somebody in my life very dear to me, old gangster. She tells me all the time, you got sober. Don't mean you got to lose your edge, right? Now, I'm not saying I'm right or I'm wrong. Today I got up, and the first thing I did was, you know, pray to the God of my understanding, you know, for forgiveness, you know, because I didn't feel good about it, you know, but maybe that was my higher power using me in his life. Yeah. Maybe he needed a little shake, you know, maybe he needed that to, you know, hey, you know, you're a scumbag, you're a dirtbag, you know?
Yeah, the thing is with something like that,
tell me what the thing is, because I don't know shit.
No, I don't either. But every time I was in a situation like that, I have to resign to the idea that I put forth something positive. I try to make amends. I can't control other people's movements or what their mind, what's going on in their mind.
Sure.
So I think you did the right thing by reaching out, by expecting, because, you know, there's nothing wrong by wanting to expect that love and, you know, and comfort. He's your pops. And you're such in a good place right now where you peeled layers back that you're ready for that. He may not be ready for that. And it may not have nothing to do with you.
Right.
And that's the thing. We take that shit personally, especially, not to say that you did in this particular case, but sometimes we can because it's a family member. You know, it's a part of us. It's blood, right?
Well, yeah, sure. But it's me going in with an expectation as well, right? And that's like, just like, you know, I can't afford to be angry or resentful. I gotta be kind. You know. But what I learned is, like, forgiveness is a process. It's a constant process, man. All right, so you're my dad, and I stole some shit from you, and you stuck a pistol in my mouth and tried to kill me. I'm over it. I forgive you, right? 2 days later, I might not feel so forgiving. You gotta, just like I need to, like we gotta forgive ourselves. You know, I mean, I know there's some shit, some shame, and some guilt. Look, my son my relationship with my son, and that's the thing for me. I think that good reason maybe, again, like I don't like to overanalyze myself really. Maybe I responded the way I responded to him yesterday when he called me is just because like there's fear now. I think losing my mom has reminded me of my own mortality, right? When I was ripping and running, listen, man, shot in the face, stabbed, ripped with razor blades, overdosed numerous times, living in a fucking cardboard box, 17 years in the penitentiary, no regard for my own life or anybody else's, right? And now I kind of have some value towards life, right? There's things to do, right? There's may not always be clear, but I'm here for a purpose. I'm still breathing for a purpose. Even it's like one person might hear us say this and say, this fucking guy used to do this and he's like this now. Or maybe I have a problem or maybe I can change it. Let me ask somebody for some help, right? But kind of now that I've gotten in touch with like, it's just me and my son. It's only me. The family now is me and my son. And I'm afraid for my son. I feel afraid for my son. Like, you know, we joke, like, am I going to take the mask off? You know what I mean? Like, I just feel
that's beautiful that you made it there, right? And all the hardships that you experienced equipped you for dealing with the now. And let me tell you something. There's going to be more bumps in the road. We think that we've been through it. We think, oh, enough's enough. No, it keeps on happening.
There's more coming.
Yeah, there's more coming.
Sure.
And with that, it elevates our appreciation for the good shit.
Oh, gratitude is
the gratitude.
Gratitude is key.
You know, that's one thing I know. I could walk by something and I'm exercised being present, a conversation with a friend, certain colors. Like it could sound a little corny, but I'm super appreciative. And what brings me there is not the idea of saying, oh, I got to be present because I want to do this. No, I exercise the movements and train myself to be that way, both physically and mentally.
That's a practice.
It's a practice.
That's a practice. That doesn't just come.
Yes.
That just doesn't
so it's very
come.
important.
Yeah.
And it's ironic. It's such an interesting thing that we met at a gym. And that's the foundation, I feel, that I always go back to. When I was in recovery, I went back to the gym. A little OD'd. I remember I worked out so hard in the boxing gym, I would pee like rust because I was so dehydrated. But you push it. What I'm saying is that was my solace. That was becoming one with myself. That was bringing myself to a stressful place physically and mentally. I was so tired at the gym. And then it's applied over and over in different areas in our life.
When we met, I can't go in Boston again. Something's wrong with my mouth.
I want you to say farts. You thought farts? Sergio, are you farting?
Well, what's the other one? I could be very white. Listen, when we met, I think I was getting like regular cortisone shots in my shoulder. Yeah. Because I was lifting more weight than I should have been lifting. And that's the thing, that in the whole process of changing my life and this incredible transformation, I've learned that it doesn't have to be heroin or crack or alcohol for me. If I'm not taking care of my spirit, if I don't have some kind of balance going on, if I'm not connected to something bigger than myself and being of service to someone, anyone, right? I'm all about myself. All I'm thinking about is myself. And I'm not happy with myself. And when I'm unhappy with myself, I'm going to take some shit to fill that hole.
Yeah.
It's going to be 100 cream puffs. It's going to be too many weights. It's going to be sex. It's going to be Yeezys. It's going to be some shit.
Yeah, and those like thoughts are totally irrational because they don't really, it's almost like they really don't exist. They're in our mind. And
wow, you're like, who are you?
Right? Yeah. Am I right though?
No, man.
Is that noise?
Yeah, but you've evolved.
I appreciate
you've
that.
Evolved. We should talk more.
Well,
you should step up and try to be my friend and not just call me on some dirtbag shit for a podcast. You know what I mean?
He's not, media with this shit, he doesn't get paid. He's getting a couple of these waters.
Not very good.
And
They're
that's
tiny
it.
little waters too.
These are like the massage parlor waters. When you get a massage, they're like...
Dirtbag shit.
I don't mean those massage parlors. I mean legit ones.
Listen, but wait. Yeah, right. Listen.
Because the dirtbag ones... Oh.
Big, strong like Superman.
Oh. The dirtbag, they got no frills water. You don't get Poland Spring. You got Kirkland waters at the dirtbag joints.
I never been to a dirtbag joint.
Me neither, but
I've
I've
never
heard.
even had a massage.
Yo, don't fucking touch me. Don't touch me. I like people's hands on me. Yo, if someone grabs
That's why
me.
you box.
Yeah. No, but if someone grabs me, like to direct me, someone, hey, Serge, come over here. I always flex. Excuse me? Yeah. I used to love, my first job working at Petland Discounts, I would mop the floor and I would, flex and look at myself at there. Have another.
Oh, what the fuck is going on? I'm trying to figure
like
out what's
shots of
going
water.
on here. What?
Yo, what are you doing with these caps? You're like in the old 14th Street, the gamblers. Remember the old... Yo,
No, that's not what I remember, though. I remember putting the dope in here and throw a little water in there, mix it up. Oh, God.
Isn't it weird how we can look at certain objects and think back to our, getting high days?
That's how I look at you.
You look
Not
at me
to objectify you or anything.
Well, you look at me and think of drugs? No. You're like, yeah, you look like someone who fucking I used to buy dope off of.
Nah, you don't look.
No, I just
you remind me of something though.
I'm afraid to ask. But no, let me ask. You imagine you just go mad hardcore. You remind me of a bitch ass motherfucker. And I'm like, thank you, Chris. Sometimes it's weird how, it could be a certain smell, a certain song that brings you back to that, certain weather.
Yeah, it happens.
It's
yeah,
weird.
every time for me, every time the season changes, like mostly spring and fall, I find myself, especially spring, like when it turns that first hot day, just recently happened ligh week.
I licked my bottom lip thinking about that.
Yeah, first warm day, I was like,
smells
God damn, I should be on 116th Street right now.
Yeah,
high as hell with a washcloth, just rubbing my head, Nodding.
Washcloth.
Nodding. Yeah, washcloth.
The washcloth.
Cold washcloth, dripping, dope sweat. See, that's the thing. Now how, right? So I don't know. I mean, I imagine the dirtbag, DBS podcast, you have a specific audience, right? Dirtbags, right?
No, actually.
Dirtbags are people who are intrigued by dirtbags, some shit like that, right? Like, so we could sit here and tell this dirtbag shit, right? Tell these, we could really get gutter with these stories right now, right? And nobody's really going to be shocked, right? Because this is what people want to hear, right? Now, if you go out into the workplace or whatever, into mainstream society and tell this shit that we laugh about, people are horrified. They're like what brings me to that thought is because I just right now said how I would like to be standing on 116th Street in some 85-degree weather, doped up with a washcloth. Keep going to Boston, man. Wiping my face off, wiping the sweat off my face, right? How does my brain romanticize any such thing? Having spent a decade and a half in a cell, having been through all this traumatic, dark shit in the street, what part of my brain thinks it's okay to do a bag?
I'm not sure, but everyone has that part of the brain that exercises that. Yeah. Yes. I could reveal this much. Anytime, for example, I'll say something more immediate. When COVID first happened, I thought this would be a perfect time. We got to wear the mask. It'd be a perfect time to do drugs because no one knows I'll have the coke jaw because I have the mask on.
True.
I rationalized it. True. I said, I thought about that. I thought, I'm off for work. Why not? And they were the thoughts. And it feels good for 5 minutes, and then it goes away, and then But that never leaves you, and
Clearly.
you have to address them. You can't suppress them.
And it's all across the board. Every time I walk past the ATM machine and them guys are in there loading it up, first place my brain.
You want to get involved in some criminal activity?
First place my brain goes.
Pulling the bag?
I don't even need to. Like, I don't even need
I'm
to.
even more petty than that. I'll walk by a Subway grate and I'll stop on that shit. I wish this shit would break through. I want to own the city.
Like 7 years to get that money, man. It takes too
I'll be
long to get
48
that
years
money.
old, like that, in a wheelchair.
You're so young. You're 41?
Yeah. I know. I look like I'm 30. Yeah, it's weird, right? How you kind of go back into that.
Always.
Cheap
Always.
thrills. Cheap thrills. That never goes away, but it's exercising those, and this is like a little cliche, but it's exercising those demons and owning it. And so when you say who's listening to this or whatever, I guess I was watching one of my favorite reptile vloggers, and he said something about when I introduced reptiles to the world, it's Brian Barczyk, and he had like a reptarium, and he showcases all sorts of lizards and snakes and all that stuff. And he mentioned something that was interesting to me that I found quite like unique. When you have a platform, it's one thing preaching to the choir, like motherfuckers who got high or, you know, was involved in some street shit. And those stories are like, oh, I can identify with that, makes it interesting. But I would like people who are foreign to this world of addiction, of imprisonment or whatever, understand that this is not a part of society that should be dismissed forever. The people are fully capable of recovering. And let me tell you something. Those motherfuckers are strong. Stronger than a lot of motherfuckers you met because they've been through hell and back. And it's like really like kind of going through war. But it's a war that you're not given a badge for or honor because they feel like, oh, you're a piece of shit because you did that sort of thing, right? So it's not like, but in this sense, it is. It's a psychological war. It's a mental war. And it's something that a lot of us are victims to. The thing is with drug use, a lot of people who don't understand it chalk it off like, oh, you're just a piece of shit. You know, we were in circumstances that, you know, and pulling those layers back and understanding that it's everyone's responsibility. People may, oh, I don't want to, learn about that or try to understand it. But, you know, that's your choice. But the reality is there's a lot of motherfuckers who suffer like that, but they hide it well.
I can't imagine that there's anybody in this world who isn't touched by it at this point, at this time in the world. I mean, how can, if you don't know somebody in your life who is not affected by like addiction or alcoholism, like I'm amazed.
Right.
I'm amazed.
Yeah.
But I know I have a lot of, I still have people, you know, from when I was young. I have friends that, you know, didn't go the same way I went. And, you know, their thing back then was, you know, you don't have no willpower. Like, I'm powerless. I'm powerless over that shit. If I take that shit, I'm done. It's a wrap.
Oh, they'll say that to you?
Yeah, because, I mean, that was always the thing. You know, I think I'm not super informed other than my own experience. You know what I mean? I don't think it has anything to do with willpower. You know, I think
it sounds like another drug addict trying to rationalize their behavior and try to put themselves on a pedestal almost. When I hear that talk,
I don't know, man. I know my journey took something. It took.
Yeah, and vice versa. I felt like I gave away a lot to that, and I'm not. You know, when I think about that, I don't think of it like, oh, I lost so much. I think of it like it fed me the motivation and inspiration and strength and power I need now for what I'm doing present day. That's it. I don't give that shit too much power in the past, you know? And if I do, it's got to be positive. Because, dogs, all this shit is too short. And, Chris, how often are we fucking reminded that all this shit is too short? You know, like it's too short. So the moment we give anything too much power, especially if it's negative, it's like, oh, I'll deal with that. It's like taking a shot to the face. Boom. Oh, you got that. But I'm going to recover from that and I'm going to manipulate.
That's a rabbit hole. That's a rabbit. That negative thinking, that fear, all that shit is once if I let myself go in, I'm going right down. You know,
yeah.
And you got to be with positive people. You know, for me, I want to be with positive people that see it and can be like, yo, snatch me right back out of that.
Yeah. I'm always looking for different sources of inspiration. And some of it is corny, especially with like social media platforms, you feel like, oh my God, you can do it. And I don't mean to give like a white girl, young voice, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, I didn't mean to do an Asian massage parlor girl either. I'm sorry.
It's a DBS
I didn't offend anybody.
Anytime,
it is some dirtbag shit.
Yeah.
Though, right?
Anytime everything is racially touchy or whatever, I chalk it up as the DBS podcast. But I gotta find editor. If we ever need to edit anything, not that anything needs to be edited, we could always throw a little DBS.
Oh, good.
Or what was that?
Yeah, we're not live.
No, we're not live.
Oh, that's good.
But all this shit is real. It's good. What was I saying? I don't give it too much power, and there's the thing about moving the fuck on. Like moving on, and looking for different sources of inspiration. Have you heard of David Goggins, the Navy SEAL?
Somebody tells me, listen, I gotta tell you, man, you're Joe Rogan to me right now.
Hey, you hear this?
What I mean?
Thank you. I like Joe Rogan. I listened to him today.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you come from the lower, you didn't know where you was going, you didn't know what you were doing, you're funny, you know how to fight, you're blowing cocaine all day, every day, and here you are with your own podcast, right? I'm inspired by you. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that.
Good family man, loves reptiles, all that, right? I'm inspired by you. So, have I heard of David Goggins? I have some friends in my life, very successful people. I'm training a couple of guys, super successful people. They're like, my story is not a Navy SEAL story, right? But these people see in me, when people start telling me how charismatic I am and like how I inspire people, and like when I go somewhere and I talk, people just listen. Some guy said, you're like fucking E.F. Hutton. I was like, who's E.F. Hutton? And then they were like, this E.F. Hutton, whoever that was, when he spoke, people listen. I don't see myself like that. I don't see that I have anything to offer to. But when I step into that, when I say, oh, wait, hold on. I did go through hell. I do move like this. I am a good father. I am a role model. I do help people with whatever they need. I am an amazing, strong fucking person through the grace of God. And step into that power, right? Why wouldn't somebody listen to me the way they listen to David Goggins? Right. Like, I'm going to listen to you like people want to listen to Joe Rogan.
What's interesting about a guy like Goggins, a guy like you, is that you're telling the story. And there's a lot of motherfuckers who've done similar, they accomplished and beat certain adversities that are amazing and so intriguing to hear. But everyone's fully capable of it. That's the inspiration. It's not, you're special because I'm asking you to be a guest and share. That's special to reveal. But there's a lot of, like, everyone is capable. That's the thing. When I hear Goggins talk, I'm like, oh yeah, well, he did amazing feats when he talk about running ultras and, the abuse that he came from with his father, going to the Navy SEALs and, just really manic with his shit. But always the message is you're fully capable once you callous your brain and you're like, no, I'm going to do this, and we eliminate the noise. And how do we eliminate the noise? By just fucking doing it. No, this podcast is not sponsored by Nike, but you get what I'm saying. Doc Martens out here, East Village, all day, every day. Oh, we got to edit that out. All right, but you know what I'm saying? It's just, I can't believe I did a rapport.
You did all that.
I couldn't get away with wearing these Doc Martens back in the 1990s where I grew up in Bruges Project, because they would have considered me a gay skinhead. I'm not. I'm a Puerto Rican heterosexual male with a bunch of reptiles in a Lower East Side apartment. But you know what I'm saying? It's crazy how everyone's fully capable.
I think something that I've learned is that like a lot of people, there's a lot of shame attached to a lot of things that we may do, right? And so somebody may have done exactly all the same things that I did, but have so much shame around it that they can't speak about it. So they hold it in. If you're holding it in, it's hard to heal from it, right? Because it's your secret, right? At least this, it took me a minute, man, to open up. Now you can't shut me up, right? Yeah. And I think that people who do get the opportunity to have a platform to share authentically and vulnerably, which are words that I never knew, that I learned after I stopped using drugs, it gives other people like, oh, yeah, this guy can talk about that. Like some would say, I think they say it gives people permission, right? You get permission to go, permission to share, right?
Yeah.
And you don't need somebody to give you permission. You just need to like maybe dig down and be like, whoa, maybe I don't want to talk about this shit because it's scary, but I just need a little courage and talk about it, and it might not be as heavy, you know?
Right.
I'm free. Let me tell you something, man. I was with my mom about maybe 40 minutes before she passed away, right? And I said, I was leaving and I told her I would be back. And I said, you're a great mom. I just want you to know you're a great mom. It was just, I was coming back to the hospital the following day. It wasn't even on my fucking radar that I wasn't going to see my mom again, you know? And my mom, because she's a wise ass, she said, yeah, well, you're an okay son, right? And I said, and I cleaned up my past, man. I did everything I could for my mom. I love my mom to death. You know what I mean? Miss my mom. And I said to my mom, I said, I'm sorry I wasn't always. And she said, yes, Christopher, but maybe if you were, you wouldn't be now. And she set me free with that shit, man. She set me free. And not to make it a comparison, but, you know, I can imagine that there are I can imagine how if I had the opportunity to go back and maybe make some different choices in my life, I would have been a great kid when I was a teen. I would have been a good son in my 20s and my 30s. And maybe, you know, I would have fell off in my 40s or my 30s, right? I wasn't a good anything in my teens, in my 20s, and my 30s. The only thing I gave my mom was my son. And that's something she cherished, right? But because of the way that I was for all those years, when I began to rebuild a relationship with my mom, it became one of the most important relationships in my life, right? So it was no sweat to show up and do everything I could do for my mom at the end. And I didn't know it was going to be the end. I didn't think it was. I was just doing what the fuck I was supposed to do, man. But for her to say that maybe if you were, you wouldn't be now, was like, thank you, Mom, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to have that same opportunity with my pops, but, you know, it's just life, man. It's just life. And for me, the thing is, like, how grateful am I for my life, man? I spent a third of my life in a cell. I spent all that time, man, living on rooftops, trains. Dude, you might randomly walk into the projects and see me crawling out from under a bush on any given morning, right? Everything I have today is a gift, man. Everything today I have is a gift. And it's my responsibility to, like, pass that on. Give that, you know, how can I help, man? How can I help? When I'm telling you, that's what ignites a fire in me, man. How can I help?
What do you do if you have a comrade, a friend who's you know, in a situation where he was clean for some time, and you suspect that they relapse? How much of that do you internalize? How much?
Suspect?
Oh.
I
Yeah. I'm in a situation where I don't know, you know, where I have someone who I know who may, after years, may have fell off the wagon. And part of me is, I have it planned out in my head where I can offer, what I can provide. And it's not much, but it's words and it's feeling, you know, it's like a support, but it's a very delicate thing because,
So hold it out. Hold it delicately.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Hold it delicately. You know, just you suspect, right? Like I don't know what to do. I mean,
when you were faced with a situation, have you been faced with a situation like that?
well,
Because part of me is like, you almost don't want to deal with.
Well,
and then there's part of you that's like,
first of all, I can't, if you don't, like, somebody doesn't want some help, there's nothing I can do.
There's nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do. Especially if someone is in the grips. As I know, there's people, listen, man, I've been chained to I've been handcuffed to radiators by dudes who loved me like I was their brother. I have been like, I'll chew my arm off to get it if I want it, if I need it. You know what I mean? And that's how strong it is. But now, I mean, if someone comes to me and says, you know, someone I know comes to me and says, hey, I relapsed and I'm struggling and I don't know what to do, I'm going all out.
Yeah.
How can I help? I'm going all out. Let's find you a detox, a treatment program, whatever we got to do.
Isn't that wild how that was, that's a thing, right? Just going cold turkey, someone chaining you up and say, oh, you're going to chill this
I'm going to pull the radiator out, man.
You're going to be walking down Lexington with the radiator.
I am. Come on. I got arrested on 2nd Avenue carrying an ATM machine, man. I'm going to do anything by any means necessary. Once I take it and put it in me, there's no stopping. You're either going to, it's not when I'm unconscious or when they're putting handcuffs on me. That's when it stops for me, right? But at the same time, everybody, it's going to stop when it's going to stop. If it's destined to stop, I think it's going to stop. You know, I just had a conversation with somebody. Pain is pain, man. We might just be able to handle different levels of pain, right? Like you might have too much wine and pee the bed, and that's it. You're done. You're in pain. You can't believe that you did that. Your world is devastated because you left a pissy stain on your mattress. That's not my story, but I respect your pain. Like whatever gets you there. There's many different roads.
You hear about that a lot. At the rock bottom, it's different for everybody.
It's different for everybody, man. It's different for everybody.
Yeah, I once got really high. And I peed on a plant that I adored, beautiful plant, and I killed that shit. I killed the plant.
Toxic.
Yeah, and I tried to revive it. I was giving it mouth to mouth with the leaf. I was like, please come back to it with a stuffy nose, and I killed that shit. So, you know, don't pee in your plants, especially if it's a cacti because they don't require much water.
I'm glad you're not there anymore.
Peeing on plants?
Yeah.
Peeing on domestic plants? Fitness-wise, how do you keep the regimen going and not how are you not bored by that shit? You get bored?
I quit the gym, bro. I quit the gym in November. I just went back.
You just went back?
And I won't go to the gym. I won't go to the gym. I won't join the gym. My girl worked in a gym. My girl was working in the gym. I won't say the gym's name. Right. Fancy gym or whatever. And
La gym.
Coming home all the time, telling me how they won't keep their masks on.
Yeah, dirtbags. Different topic.
They message me like every 60 days. We're gonna open your shit back up, and if you don't come, we're gonna charge you anyway. You know, for a freeze. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not coming back.
So what were you doing? How were you keeping the regimen up during the pause? Home workouts?
Look at me, man. I'm half the man you knew. I'm back though.
You getting
I had
back?
some chicken breast today, some blueberries.
Yeah, you had to go tap into. I had a guest on a few weeks ago, and he spent a considerable amount of time in prison, drug offenses, collectively like 10 years, and he came up with his own workout program called Body, and he started doing it in the streets.
You know him?
Yeah, I had him on the podcast.
That's incredible.
Do you know him?
Now we have a short time left, right? I'm gonna tell you a story.
We'll wrap this up soon, but
I'm gonna tell you a story, right? So, I've been blessed to have some really good, successful people show up out of nowhere in my life and like guide me, direct me, right? So, I have the Zoom class now, right? This is what's been keeping me afloat since I joined the unemployed masses, right? Two people in particular.
And real quick, what kind of Zoom class? It's like
it's a 30-minute HIIT class.
HIIT class, all right. So high intensity.
And what it is, this is what I'm going to say. All right, listen, so here's the story, right? About 4 years ago, 5 years ago, right? I'm hanging out with these people and they're like, these are people who have introduced me to things that I would never in my life think of doing. I'm talking about I jumped out of a plane with them. They took me to see Hamilton, all this shit that I would never have thought about doing. And early on in our friendship, they took me to Barry's boot camp, right? And this is when you and I first met, right?
Okay.
And I was beast mode, right? I went in, I did Barry's, came out, we went to lunch after, and they were like, listen, man, you know, you love fitness so much. You're in such good shape. Like, you know, we want to see you do something, you know, something that you think is big for you to take you like to your next place in your journey, right? And I'm like, man, listen, I'm just a mold inspector, man. I don't know what you're talking about, right? So they're like, listen, you can do something just like Barry's. You just need a gimmick, right? So we think, why don't you take one of those workouts you used to do when you were in the box, right? And like make it interesting, and like we can help you. We could get you some backing, right? You can open up something, and of course at that time I felt completely unworthy. Nothing like that was ever gonna happen for me. You know what I mean? And a short time later, the same dude sends me the article. He's like, yo, man, check this out. What did we tell you? And it's this guy, Body. And I was like, crazy. I was like, this guy did it, man. He did it. Good for him, right? And you know, in the last year or two, I've seen some guys, I've read some articles, and I was like, that's a big deal, right? Like,
right. And it could be, it doesn't have to be your own company, but I think you immerse yourself in doing something you enjoy. And,
but why?
Right?
But this is the thing now. Why shouldn't it be? I mean, right now, I have a couple of guys that I'm training, right? And like, turns out like one guy is telling his guy, yo, this guy, right? Like, well, who is he? What does he do? I'm Chris Hewitt Fitness. Why not?
Right.
Right? It's like, it's not like always, well, I might not have a bachelor's degree in exercise science, you know what I mean? But I'll tell you what, I go to the joint and get big.
Right.
I'll get you big too. I'll get you whatever you want to get. You know what I mean? Like, I'll show you how to get it. I'll support you.
And I'll also teach you how to get some blow, you know what I'm saying, without any gene pocket.
I'm not going to teach you that, man. But he will.
Yeah, you can boof it. Skin pocket. What do they call that? What do they call it? When you boof something? There's another name for it. What they used to call that?
Stuff it.
Stuff. Yo, it's so funny. The
How
way
do we get talking about boofing right now?
No, because
I'm so far removed from that element.
I know.
It took me a second.
Yeah.
Boof. Yeah.
Boof is like a fart joke to me. I just think it's hilarious.
Well, I mean,
you know,
go down on the dance floor.
But yeah, the fitness. Yeah, the possibilities are fucking infinite. Especially now, it's a clean slate. We're all in the game. So I always love talking to you. Seriously, it's always inspiring. You're a good dude. Who I'm always happy to be in your presence. We don't do it enough, but I appreciate it. And maybe it's good this way because then we got something to talk about. Because if I speak to you too much, I'll be like,
you speak to me for 40 minutes again ever, I'm gonna jump out the window.
I had your ear hot on the phone. You were like switching.
You know what?
And I appreciate that.
You made me laugh a lot.
You were talking on the phone, and you were uptown near those hills, and I could hear the wind going.
Oh yeah.
I picture
was walking my dog. My dog was like, "Come on, let's go already."
Bonnie, the pit bull, and I got Curry, the pit bull. And pit bulls are the shit.
Bonnie is me.
Yeah. Hey, listen. Anyone listen? If you cross the street while I'm walking my pit, I hope you got hit by a New York City cheese bus. School bus. Act right. Pit bulls are beautiful, docile creatures.
Beautiful.
Okay? It's out of style to think that pits are aggressive, dirtbag dogs. They're not.
Well, my dog is a little bit of a dirtbag.
She's a dirtbag.
But I mean, listen, here's the thing. Like, you know, they always say your spirit
Every chick
animal.
I met named Bonnie is a dirtbag.
Every Clyde needs a Bonnie, man. Listen, they say spirit animals this, the spirit animals that. This fucking dog, right? This dog matches my energy directly, no matter what kind of mood I'm in. You should talk to my son. This dog is batshit crazy. But this dog was rescued from a fighting ring. When I got Bonnie had like 170 some odd puncture wounds in her body. Her face was gashed open. Her hind leg was gashed open. Her front left paw was broken. She was a mess. She was torn apart. So we're like,
that baby loves you, Like they feel that. Yeah.
Love is the cure, dude.
That's a real rescue, by the way. I hate when people are like, I rescued my dog. I'm like, bitch, you went into the ASPCA, you pointed your long ass crooked finger into a cage, like, I'll take that one. All right?
You know what?
You didn't run through a fire You didn't go in the sea and rescue a drowning dog. We're all being very generous of saying we rescued her. I didn't rescue my dog, Curry. You know what I did? I emailed somebody, and I said, I want a pit bull that gets along with cats, snakes, lizards, and a 9-year-old kid.
Girl,
What do you have?
yeah.
That wasn't a rescue, but
Curry.
I used to say that same shit. Yeah, I rescued my dog. I didn't rescue her.
You got the dog that needed you, though, man.
Exactly.
You did.
Yo,
I
Chris.
have look, real quick.
Yeah.
You know what the new hot rescue shit is? My friend Natalie just got a dog. Dog name is Olivia Benson. I'm not a big fan because that's a cop, right? From Korea.
Oh. Because those Koreans like to eat them dogs.
Yeah, that's the thing now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the dog was saved.
One thing about
Beautiful dog,
Koreans, they
saved
have
from
huge calf muscles and they have an appetite for dogs.
Oh,
they have an appetite for poodles. Hey, yo, everyone got an interesting palate.
Unbelievable.
That's an interesting palate.
Cost some money to get a dog from over there, too.
Yeah.
You
Those,
gotta fly the dog over and all this crazy
I ain't
shit.
doing that.
I never been anywhere.
I got a pit bull from the
Paying to
Bronx.
get a dog flown over from Korea.
My dog is coming in. First class.
JFK.
Yo, Chris, you're the man. Thank you for your time, brother. Do you offer, like, as far as fitness-wise, are you interested in, like, if anyone wants to reach out and take the fitness class, any literature that you want to share or any social media platforms you want to share? Or you're like, nah, this is what the people get, I'm out. Because it could be that, too.
Yeah, they could talk to you.
All right. So reach out to me if you want that Chris Hewitt fitness, because he does Zoom, he does training as well, and it's gonna be a hard workout. I worked out with him once, and to this day, one pectoral muscle is bigger than the other. No, we worked out. We had a good time. We did weights one good time.
We did do weights. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. So we're signing out.
I wasn't ready.
Yo, I didn't warm up. Yo, Be Frank Network, DBS Podcast,
What
AKA.
is it?
This is a Be Frank Network.
Be frank.
Be Frank. Yeah.
Be frank.
Be
I
Frank.
thought he said beef rack. I was like, what the fuck is beef
That's my speech impediment, God. Be Frank Network, Sound Lounge, DBS Podcast, a.k.a. The Chacon Show. My man Chris Hewitt in the house. Thank you so much, guys. It's another one in the books. We out of here. Peace.